In the next example, that is example number 10 in the JavaScript section, we'll talk about copying an array. There are two ways to copy an array. One is called a deep copy and another is called a shallow copy. These behave a little bit differently and it can trick you up. So please pay close attention. Creating an array, as you saw in the previous example, was extremely simple. In JavaScript, array creation is very straightforward. But copying an array is a little bit tricky and there are some subtleties here that you need to watch out for. So let's go ahead and see what happens when you copy an array and the different ways in which you can copy an array and get different behavior. So let's take this step by step and see how this works. The very first step involves creating an array. We've seen this before, it's straightforward. So we have a variable all days and we assign to it an array with the value of all the days of the week in block brackets separated by commas. The individual elements are separated by commas. Now we can take this array and assign it to a different variable. So you can take all days and assign it to a different variable, as you see on screen. So we have a new variable called shallow copy equal to all days assigns the value in all days to shallow copy. This is where things get interesting. Change something in the original array. So the original array is the all days array and it has 7 elements in this. Let's say we go ahead and change one of the elements. Let's say the way we change the original is all days of 3 is equal to Thursday. This basically means the element at index 3, which in this case is the element THU, will now be updated to Thursday. Remember that in JavaScript arrays, the very first element is at index 0, the second element is at index 1, and so on. So what we've done here is that the fourth element in the list, THU, is now Thursday instead, the full form. What does this do? What's the effect of this statement? One is obvious, the original array changes. The original all days array is updated to look like what you see on screen. Now this is a totally expected change. You've assigned something to the original array and the original array has been updated based on your assignment. Makes total sense so far. Here's something unexpected as well. Do you remember the copy we made of this array called shallow copy? The copy is updated as well. If you print out the value of the array which shallow copy holds, you'll notice that it looks exactly like the original array with all its updates. THU has been updated to the full form Thursday even in the shallow copy variable. So this wasn't really a copy. This is what is called a shallow copy. So when you copy using this particular syntax, where you declare a new variable var shallow copy or whatever the variable name is equal to all days, what you get is a copy which mimics the original in every way. You change the original, you'll change the copy. If you change the copy, you'll change the original. It's called a shallow copy. The shallow copy that you've just created is basically just another name for the same array. So the original array was called all days. By copying over and creating a shallow copy in this form where you have var shallow copy is equal to all days, what you've done is just created another name for the same array. So the same array is now called all days as well as shallow copy. A change in shallow copy means you're changing all days, and a change in the all days array means you're changing the shallow copy. Maybe this is not what you wanted to do. In that case, You'll be happy to know there is another way to copy over the array, and you can see it on screen right now. You can declare a new variable of name deep copy, and that's equal to all days dot slice. This is how you make a deep copy in JavaScript. We'll soon see what a deep copy is. It's probably what you were expecting when you wanted to copy over an array. All days dot slice. Note that slice is a function call, and we'll learn about them later, on the all days array. It's a method on the all days array. And this is how you use it to make a deep copy of the array. When you have a deep copy, the two arrays, the original all days array and the deep copy array, are entirely independent. So if you make a change to the deep copy, it won't affect the original. And if you make a change to the original all days array, it will not affect the deep copy. The two arrays are entirely independent. They are true copies of each other. Pay close attention to the method called slice. It's kind of a strange word. The slice method is not very intuitively named. It is strange, but remember that what it does is to create a deep copy of an array, basically recreate an array from the original elements of the all days array and create an entirely new independent copy. The slice method again is not very intuitively named, and the reason for that is it's not really used to create deep copies. The exact use of slice is used to extract specific parts of an array. Say an array has 10 elements and you want to extract elements 6 and 7 from that array. That's when you would use slice. So you want to slice elements 6 and 7 from the array and create a copy of those elements without affecting the original array. That's when you would use the slice method. Let's see that in action. Here is a typical use of the slice method. Let's start off with an array that we are familiar with, and that is the array which contains all the days of one week. So we have the all days array. It goes from Monday through Sunday. This is the original array that we are going to slice and extract elements from. So let's say we want to extract the weekends. The way we do that is we'll say all days dot slice and pass in two arguments to this method, 5, 7. These two arguments have a special meaning. They represent the indices of this array that we want to slice and extract. If you run this code, you'll find that the output is Saturday, Sunday, exactly what we wanted because these are the weekends. And we've got it by calling alldays.slice 5, 7. How did that work? We've mentioned several times over that arrays are indexed starting at index 0. So in this particular array, Monday is at the 0th index, Tuesday is at index 1, Wednesday is at index 2, and so on. Thursday is 3, Friday is 4, Saturday is 5, and Sunday is 6. Of these, we want to slice from index 5 up till index 7. So what exactly does slice do? Notice the element at index 5. It is Saturday. It includes that in the result. Notice the element at index 6, it's Sunday. It includes that in the result as well. So we've got the elements at index 5 and index 6. But the second argument to slice is 7, which means that when used with arguments, slice returns a deep copy of a portion of an array. The start index 5 is included in the copy that's returned. The end index 7 is not included. There isn't an element at index 7 in this array. So that's the end index, that's the range that we want to slice, and in that range the start index is included in the range and the end index is not included. It's now time to put it all together and see this in action. Here is the code for example 10 that you see on screen right in front of you. Take a bit of time, look at what it does and see if you can figure it out. As usual, we'll be walking through it step by step. The very first thing that you do is set up an array and make a deep copy and shallow copy of this array. So we've created an array, the all days array. We've created a deep copy by calling alldays.slice, and we've created a shallow copy by assigning the all days variable to the shallow copy variable. So deep as well as shallow copies. And then we go ahead and modify the original array. All days of 3 is equal to Thursday changes the original array. And once we've done this, we want to see what the effect is on the deep and the shallow copies. When you run this code, the first thing that you'll see in your console window is this output. This prints out the original array before we have performed any edits on the array. So the original array, note that all the days of the week are in the short forms, mon, tu, ved, etc. All three arrays, the deep copy, the shallow copy and the original array look exactly the same before edits. We haven't yet made our edits. The value of the element at index 3 is exactly the same for all three arrays. Now that we've satisfied ourselves of this, we can go ahead and see what happens after the edits. Here the original array and the copies have exactly the same value before edits. Printing out the elements of the array after the edits have been made gives you an output which looks like this. Let's walk through this. So we've made the change to the original array. Note that element at index 3 is now Thursday. We've then printed out the deep copy after the edits to the original, and then we've printed out the value in the shallow copy after the edits to the original. Observe the changes. Element at index 3 is now Thursday in the original array. Exactly what we'd expected. This is the change we made. Look at the deep copy. It has remained unaffected by the change to the original. It's a true copy of the array. Look at the shallow copy. It looks exactly like the original array, which means it is the original array. It has been affected by changes to the original array. The deep copy has remained unchanged. However, the shallow copy has been updated because we changed the original. So the shallow copy, note, is Thursday, both in the original and in the shallow copy.